Hi, I'm Maureen Gerecke, and I work at FREED, the Center for Independent Living in Grass Valley, California. I'm going to share with you today about the 5 key recovery concepts of the WRAP program, which stands for Wellness Recovery Action Plan, as well as the action plan steps that are a big part of the program. I'll first share with you some of the materials that you'll receive when you take this training. There are 4 different books. This is the first Wellness Recovery Action Plan book that Mary Ellen Copeland wrote. Then a second book came out that was specifically for people who wanted to deal with their addictions. And then the next book that came out was for veterans and people in the military, people in active service, as well as veterans. And finally, a book I don't have yet because it is so new is WRAP for people who are wanting to recover from trauma. So these are the materials that you would receive if you took a WRAP training, as well as a workbook. The workbook that I received when I went through the training 4 years ago looks like this. However, 2019, they just produced a brand new workbook. And I am going to give my presentation based on this new workbook. I haven't facilitated a group yet with this new material, but when I looked at it, it was far superior to the workbook that I'd used, and I just think you'll get a lot more out of it. So I will be covering all the concepts in this workbook in this 20-minute video. The first thing that I want to point out is that WRAP is really a game plan for your life. It's really a prevention and wellness program. And it's a process that anybody who wants to make a positive change in the way they feel or the way that they react to life can use. There are just no limits to recovery and wellness. Also, people define recovery in different ways. And the definition that I am going to be using for recovery is living the life that you were meant to live. Whatever that looks like. You are the expert on your life, and you get to make the choices about how you want to live. And given that, people have different issues in their lives. Sometimes people are in transitions, and they need a game plan. They need an action plan to address different issues so that they're making the choices that will lead them to the goals that they want. And that's just what this is. We'll start first with the 5 key recovery concepts. The first one is hope. And hope is a term that everyone needs to define for themselves, what hope means to you. So I'd invite you to think a little bit about that. When in your life have you felt hopeful? And what did that feeling bring to your life? And then think about whatever the situation is, whatever issue you're working on when you work through your WRAP plan, and try to identify how you can increase hope in your life. The next key concept is personal responsibility. In the WRAP plan process, everyone is responsible for their own personal actions, and so first you need to define that again for yourself. What do you feel you are personally responsible for, which is 100%? And what steps for your wellness are you willing to take to become more personally responsible? Maybe there's an area of your life that you're feeling that you're a victim and you're not able to see your part in how that creates that dynamic. So that might be something you could explore. The third key recovery concept is education. And think about what education means to you. You may think that it's formal school education, and maybe you didn't graduate high school. So possibly going back and getting your GED would be a next step for you, or something that you're desiring to do. Also, people who have their bachelor's degrees or master's degrees, there's always lifelong learning. There's always something new to inform you of things that you never learned in school, things that you never learned in your life, workshops, trainings, all kinds of things. So you can investigate ways that you can educate yourself and learn more things that will help you with your goals. The next key concept is self-advocacy. Really, the next part of taking personal responsibility is you advocating for yourself to get what you need. And I can't emphasize how important that is. And it may be scary for you, it may be something that you're not used to, or it makes you uncomfortable. But if you can think of how your life can be different if you ask for what you need, if you communicate your needs to others. It doesn't mean that you have to do it all by yourself. There is support to help you achieve those goals. But you do need to identify ways that you can advocate for yourself in your life. And finally, the last is support. And think about what support means to you. You may think that your mother offering to help is not a sign of support. So it's good to identify what isn't support and what is. And it's different for everybody. So think about the people who have a positive impact on your life, people that you can learn from, people who can be mentors, and people who can truly support you. And start building that team around you in your life. And the other side of support is, how can you be a support for someone else? Because being of service and supporting other people really enriches your life in ways that you can't even imagine right now. So if there are any questions, please just raise your hand, and I will we'll take a break here, and I'll answer questions about those before I go on to the Wellness Toolbox. Okay, the Wellness Toolbox is the first step to a recovery action plan. And the Wellness Toolbox is basically honoring the fact that you are that expert in your life, and you know the things in your life that help you live well, that enhance your life, that are supportive to you. And they can be, basic things like exercise, diet, getting a good night's sleep, mindfulness exercises, yoga, different things that when you're living well, that you have these things happening on a daily basis. And I know for me, I have really specific routines and rituals that help support my daily living. So thinking about that, identify the ones that you already have, that you know work for you, and that you may or may not be using right now. But then think of some that in the future that you want to use. And this is where you'll learn from your peers during the process, during the group process. The next part of the action plan is a daily plan. So think about yourself. What are you like on your best day? How would others describe you when you're having a fabulous day? And how would you describe yourself? What is your attitude? What is your happiness scale? What activities are you engaged in? What do you look like? How do you feel? Identify those so that you are able to have a measuring stick of what it is to be having your best day. And then what do you need to stay on track to make your goals happen? Maybe it's that you want to sleep an extra hour, or you want to walk an extra 10 minutes a day. Think about things that you'd like to do every day that help you stay well. And then, the next thing that to be aware of, when I took the training, it was called identifying your triggers. Now it looks like they're calling them stressors. So stressors are things that happen that can cause you to react. They may be a reminder of a certain event, anniversaries, or just any kind of situation that triggers you or stresses you, causes you to be uncomfortable. So think about what might make you feel unwell or kind of throw you off track. And if you can, a process that's really helpful is just picking one day and being really aware, walking around with a little journal and writing down every 10 minutes, how are you feeling? What happened? What makes you feel good? What makes you kind of get off track? And then look at the things that happen when you get off track. Those are your stressors. And the process is really to identify how to respond the first thing is to be aware of your stressors, but then when they happen, like they're going to happen, you can't eliminate stressors. They're just part of real life. So when they happen, how are you going to respond maybe differently than you have before? Maybe somebody said something and it made you angry and you lashed out at them. What can you do differently when that exact same thing happens, but you're aware of, oh, that is causing me stress? I think I'm just going to walk the other way and have a conversation with that person later. You can come up with alternatives once you're aware your choices are limitless. And think too, once you're able to identify your stressors, how can you avoid them? How can you live in an environment that is less stressful? Let's say, put it that way, because that's always nice to. I know that I choose to be around like-minded people because that causes less stress for me. And the next part is early warning signs. Early warning signs are things that you know you're getting off track. They may be things like you just can't get out of bed in the morning. You're just too tired all the time. They may be, you may be starting to overeat and you don't know why. Things like that. That every person is unique in that way. And so you'll work through creating an action plan for when you notice that there's just a few little signs that things are getting off track. And that's when you you look at your wellness tools, you maybe need an extra, couple of wellness tools brought in to support you. You might need to call a friend. Different ways that you can support yourself when you're feeling a little bit off track. Using all the tools that you can use that feel right for you. And going through this alone is not the best process. It really is perfect in a group, because you not only go through the process of you thinking through these answers for yourself, but you get so much feedback and so much information from other people and how they live their lives, and you get a whole bunch of new ideas and tools to use. The next part is when things are breaking down or getting much worse. So this means this is the part where you're bringing in more support and identifying who those people are and how they can support you. Then the next is a crisis plan. If you have just really hit a wall and maybe you're experiencing extreme depression and you can't pull yourself out of it. Think about first, what is it like when you're well, and identify if, yes, I really am in crisis. This is so far away from what I'm like when I'm well. And it's a point, when you reach crisis, it's pretty much a point where you need help beyond yourself. If you've tried everything to kind of head off, on the early signs, the early warning signs, and you're still not able to pull yourself out of it, then this is a part where you connect with a therapist, or you connect with people who support you in your goals, and get daily phone calls set up. Whatever you need to help you, this is the time that's brought in. And this workbook is great. It has these new charts where you list the name, what the role or their task is, what their phone number is, notes about ways that they can support you. And when you finish your RAP plan, you share it with the people who are in it. You want your best friend and your roommate or your next door neighbor or whoever to know that, hey, I included you in my RAP plan as my support person if I get in crisis, and talk to them about their role so they know how they play into this and how they support you. Then, let's see, as you're starting to feel better, it's good to identify what things do work and what things don't, because you're always revising your RAP plan for, this is your plan to get to your goals. So you want to know what kind of things are going to be successful for you. Let's see. I'm going to skip to the post-crisis plan. When you're out of crisis and you're getting back to the normal, how you feel normally, or your new normal, this is the part where it's maybe reintegration into your daily living plan. So you identify how you want to feel when you're fully recovered from this crisis, because again, you're writing this plan out prior to having a crisis. So when you're writing it out, you're kind of imagining if it happens, how it might happen, and those things. And so now you're going to come out the other side, and how do you want to feel? What choices could you make differently that might have added to the crisis? That's good to identify. What did you learn from the crisis? There isn't any judgment or you're always held with unconditional high regard, no matter where you are, whatever place you are. So there's only just learning from something that didn't work well for you. And you might want to make changes in your lifestyle and life goals. And when and how will you make those changes? Goals are very specific, if goals need to be measurable. So you need to be really clear about when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it, get a timeline going, those kinds of things. And what will help you make those changes. You may want to research something, a new therapy strategy, or you may want to incorporate a new practice in your life. Then let's see, kind of more about the post-crisis plan is more about reinventing your life in terms of what people you want to have play a role in your life and be part of your life, and eliminating the people who maybe don't have such a positive impact on you. And then at the end of the workbook, you're going to have an opportunity to do some long-term planning. So there's some things to identify, how you're feeling, whether you're feeling certain ways a lot or a little or not at all. And then areas that you want to change in, actions you want to take, and breaking it down, like I said before, so that they're measurable. So what do you want to do 1 month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now? Can be really, really helpful. And then if you were living the life that you wanted to live, what would that look like 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year? Because that's what it's really about. It isn't just trying to solve a problem that comes up in your life and it's a one-time, thing. It's more about your whole life. And then at the very end, there is a planning process for employment. Because many peers, many people who go through this process, it started with for people with mental health illnesses and have kind of spread to much broader. There is a huge push to have you experience employment as a peer in that field so that you can help others, because there really is something so incredibly valuable for you and for others to be offering tools as somebody who has had that lived experience. There just isn't any replacement for that. So I hope that this has encouraged you, or at least given you hope for making the changes that you want to make, and that you will participate in their group. Thank you very much.